Wow. Time is flying. Okay, so let's load our cart. Let's have a look at where we got to last week. So we could shop. We could see our list of categories. And then we could add items to our cart. Got it. Okay, that's great. Excellent, Maggie. Good for you. So we can add to cart our cart totals, and then we added a keep shopping button that just takes us back to the main store page. I could add something else, and our cart is totaling here. So there's two more things we want to do with this page. Now, I think right now when we click checkout, yeah, we get nothing. So we will build our checkout page. What else do we need to do with our cart page just to complete it? Yeah, we are going to need to build the checkout. Yes, we're going to start that today. What else? There's going to be two other features here. Okay, you know what, Ivan? Well, we've got the price total here down at the bottom. So we've already got that one. Right, we could add a cart button to the nav bar. So no matter where we are, because right now the only way to get here is to type the URL or put something in the cart. So if we navigate around, we don't have a link back. So yes, Liam will want to do that. We do have the prices totaling. So Ivan, I think I'm going to leave out the update. It's just going to be maybe take us a little too long. We could, but there's one other thing on here. Yep, Maggie, we're going to do that next week. We will, our checkout page, we are going to add authentication. So we can be anonymous up to here, but as soon as we click checkout, we're going to have to register and log in for sure. Yes, we'll do that. What about these? What happens when you click delete on your site? Go ahead and click one of your delete links. Right, so our links are calling remove from cart, but we haven't actually written that method. So we want to build a remove from cart method that will delete that item and then reload the cart page all over again where that item is gone and our total gets updated. There's one other issue with our add to cart that we need to fix. So I'm going to keep shopping. It's not evident yet, but what should happen now? If I hit add to cart again, what should happen and what's going to happen? Right. That's right. Ivan and Maggie, you got it. Right? So our add to cart method right now, we're not actually checking if the product is already in the cart. We're just adding a new item, inserting another item every time. So this is how we coded our add to cart method. Right? If I just pull it up in my shop controller, what do? Every time we look up the price, we figure out the customer, and we're just creating a new cart object and calling add every time. So we should add a little bit of logic here. Before we create a new object and add, we probably should check if this product already exists in the cart. And if so, what should we do instead of adding a new product to the cart? What's our code in add to cart going to do if this product already exists? Yep. Well, Diana, you're on the right track. Yeah, we're just going to increment the quantity. Right. We'll update the quantity. It might be 1, but it could be more, right? So if I go back, right, if I buy 4, whatever quantity I enter, We just want to update this first one by incrementing. So we're going to see, hey, does the product exist? If so, what's the current quantity in the cart? And then what is the new quantity the customer wanted? And we'll just add them to, we'll just increment the quantity and do an update instead. So, I mean, this is functional, but a shopping cart shouldn't work this way. So for simplicity, I knew last week we were going to need this. For simplicity, I just wanted to get the add to cart working. And I figured we could come back, we would have time this week to come back to this. So let's do those things today. We're going to create our remove from cart method, which will be pretty simple. We'll have to modify the add to cart method so that we can update if the item already exists in the cart. As Liam suggested, we want to add a link to the header where we can show the cart. And I didn't really plan for it, but if we have time, we could try to hack through showing maybe the number of items in the cart. If we stored that in a session variable, we might be able to render it here. And then we'll build a simple checkout page. We'll leave the payment for next week, though. We're not going to get into that this week. So next week, we'll build a payment page and then an order confirmation. And then we can also make it so when a customer logs in, we can give them a link to their order history, where a customer can see all of their orders and then click on the details for any order. So that's what we'll do next week is payment and then the order history for the customers. And we can also build an order history for the administrators. So when a new order comes in, the administrators can see everybody's orders. Okay, so that's where we'll go with this over the next couple of classes. Let's deal with our remove from cart first. So if I click, it's calling a remove from cart method in the shop controller. And that method is going to take an ID. So that's going to be the primary key of the item in the cart. So we'll go to our shop controller and we'll add, I guess this will be a get shop remove from cart with some sort of ID parameter. So our method will be called remove from cart in Pascal case, capital R, capital F, capital C, and it will accept an int parameter so it knows the primary key because our cart model, right, it has an ID primary key. So we can use that ID to know which item do we remove. So we want to remove the selected item from the carts table. After we remove the item, what should we do? What should we show to the user once they delete that item from the database? Okay, we could show them a confirmation. We could show them an alert. Yep. Or we could redirect. So what, yeah, Farouk, I'm thinking redirect. And yes, your suggestions, Justin, Diana, those are good ones as well. We could do that. If we redirected, that would basically serve as a confirmation. So what page would we redirect to? So I'm here and I click delete. After that item gets deleted, yeah, we could, that's right, Maggie, that's what I'm thinking. We could just redirect back to the cart page. So remove from cart is really just a hidden method. It does the operation in the database and then just brings us back. Yeah, Justin, that's kind of what I'm thinking. And we could also later add a little JavaScript confirmation here. When it's clicked, are you sure you want to remove it? We could add that after as well. So we're going to remove from cart and redirect to the updated cart page. So first we'll go and find the cart item for this ID. So we can call find and we can pass in the primary key value. And then as long as it finds something, as long as our cart item is not null, we'll call context.carts.remove. So we want to remove the record that we just found in our query for the selected ID. And then what do we need to do to commit that change to the database? What method do we call anytime we want to commit a insert, update, or delete? We used it in our add to cart model. So instead of calling remove, we called add. What method did we call after? You can check the bottom of your add to cart method. Which line number here on my screen, which line number commits the change to the database? Right. So there was our add, and then line 63, that context.save changes, thanks Farouk, that's what actually commits that add to the database. So we're going to use the same thing here. We just call context.save changes. So line 110 is what actually executes that delete command in the database. And then we're going to return a redirect by calling the cart method, which will reload the cart page. So here's our full method. We'll try it out. The ID is a parameter. So notice on our delete links, you'll notice in the status, when I call, whoops. Let's go back to our cart page. Here's our loop where we're displaying all the items in the cart, right? We display the product name, we display the photo, the quantity, the price. And here are the delete links on line 47 in the cart page. And Farouk, the parameter is right here. So our delete link calls the remove from cart method, but it also has an ID parameter. So it's passing in the cart primary key. So this root ID, that populates our ID parameter here. Okay. So let's save that. I'll throw it up on Pastebin for you if you need it. I'll put the link in the chat. So there's the full remove from cart method. Take the ID that comes on the end of the URL, look up that item in the carts table. If it's found, remove it and commit the change to the database, and then reload the cart page. We'll try it. I think it looks correct, but the only way to know for sure is to give it a shot. So I'm going to put a couple items in my cart first, and then I'll try to remove one. So I'll add an item. I'll keep shopping. Okay, now I say, no, I don't want to spend $200. So I'll delete, and that item is gone. Now we should add a little confirmation here. We can use some JavaScript to make sure. So we'll want to add a little JavaScript confirmation as well. If I do this, we might want to display something else here. We probably want to display a message and maybe not show this row. Maybe we want to show a message here that says your cart is empty. So let's add the JavaScript confirmation first. So we can write a little JavaScript. Even right here on my delete link, add an onClick equals return confirm. I'm sure you want to remove this item. Justin, good question. Yes, you definitely could. So there's a benefit and a disadvantage of making it 1. Yes, we're making it easier for customers if we always just default the quantity to 1. The downside is that might prevent people from ordering more than 1. And as a business, they probably want to sell as many games as possible. So that's the kind of question when we're building an application, we have to go and ask our customer. And we would give them those two sides to it. You know, your customer is going to have a better user experience if we give them a default quantity of 1. However, that may make it less likely that they order more than 1 copy of a game. Which way would you like us to implement? So that's the kind of decision that typically we would inform our customer, the business owner about, and we would let them make a decision. If you want to make the default quantity of 1, absolutely you can do that. So I'm just going to try this out. I've got return confirm. So this should bring up a little JavaScript dialog with an OK and a cancel button. If I click cancel, I should just stay on the cart page. If I click OK, my delete should run. So I'm going to try this. I'll have to put something back in my cart. Justin, it is great that you're really thinking about the user experience and how do we give them the best experience. Okay, so when I delete, I now get this. If I click cancel, my link doesn't execute and I stay here. If I click delete and click OK, then it calls. So here's that whole line. I'll just paste that one line into the chat. So I've added this on-click handler. There's different ways of doing it. I think in our PHP class, we used jQuery, and I put a class on those links, and then we use jQuery to attach the click handler to any items with that class. So there's different ways of doing this. I hope your keyboard is black and not white, Liam. I know what it feels like. When I was a kid, I had them all the time, and both my daughters constantly. It's very annoying. Yeah. Well, hopefully, oh geez, that's awful. And I know it gets worse as the weather gets colder and drier. So the other thing I'm going to do on here, now that our delete is working, we've got this little confirmation. I want to show a message here. So if we have no items, that maybe we don't. Well, let's look at our page. So right now, the delete is in the loop. It's inside the for each loop. So for me, it was on line 47. Inside the loop, but above the footer row. It was the last column. So our loop ends on line 50, and then we had the footer at the bottom. So I'm thinking, if the cart is empty, we probably shouldn't show this table at all. There's no point showing this. We can just display a message with a link back to the shop page. There's no need to show a total. We don't want to show the checkout button, and the column headings aren't value anyway because there's no data in the table. So I'm going to take everything from line 11, the whole thing, and here's an easy way. I'm just going to contract it for a minute, and I'm going to hit the tab key to indent it. So then I can say if, if model.count, this will tell us how many items are in our list. So if our model.count is equal to 0, maybe count isn't the right. Okay, maybe we'll say if our model is null, that work? Okay, so in this case, we'll display an H2. No items in your cart at the moment. ASP action equals index, class equals. We'll make a button that says start shopping. Everything else will wrap in an else statement. So I'll move my curly brace all the way to the bottom, the very end. And then I'll format my code so it's all indented nicely. So if the user's cart is empty, we'll show them a message and give them a button to start shopping. If there is at least one item in the cart, then we'll build our table with all of our links to checkout, continue shopping, and delete. I'm just going to try this and see if this works. if checking for if our model is null. So I'll refresh. Okay, so that's not the right check. Model count. Justin, I don't think, because that's a PHP function. Empty. Let's see. It's probably an easy way. Razor check if model empty. This is a little older, but oh, that's why, because count is a method, not a property. There. So I need the brackets so that it's a method. We'll try this. And then don't forget, I've got a curly bracket all the way at the very bottom of the page, the very last item. Let's try it, see what happens. So Young, did you mean to do that? Because I've got a request for you to annotate. Oh, okay. I'll turn that off. That's kind of useful, though. Counts the number of elements. Okay. Oh, I didn't save my changes. That would help. It's okay. The caffeine will be kicking in shortly. Okay. So there's no items in my cart. Now I can start shopping. Now it's working. If I delete and say okay. Yes, Liam. Go ahead. You can use your mic if that's easier, whatever you like. Sure, that's true. We could. I guess the thing I like about it is at least the user knows what page they're on. True. Okay, so I could move this. Yeah, all right. Fair enough. That probably makes sense. Put the H1 here, and then maybe I will use an H1 up here as well. Sure. I like that suggestion. Okay, so if the cart's empty, the heading says there are no items in your cart. And if the cart is not empty, it says your cart. Sure. I think that's a good suggestion. Okay, so no items. And if I shop and add something. Okay, great. I like that idea. Thanks, Liam. You're certainly free to make any kind of changes you like in your application. You don't have to follow it exactly the way I'm doing it. If you think, I appreciate the suggestions, and you're free to make whatever changes you like so that the application makes sense in a way that you think it should run or the way things should display. Okay, we also now have to deal with this issue. Right, the duplication issue. So we want to modify our add to cart method. So before we insert to the database, we want to check if this product already exists in the cart, and if so, get the current quantity. Okay. So let's go back to our add to cart method. So before we do this, this has got to go in an if statement. So I'm just going to tab to indent that. We're going to check if product already exists in this user's cart. We'll say var cart item equals context dot carts dot where whoops, actually, sorry, there should only be one record. So to get a single record, instead of using where, because where might get a whole bunch of records, we're going to use a method called single or default. So we're checking the current product for this user's cart, where the product ID is equal to the product ID, and maybe it's just this. Okay, so we've got two conditions in our where clause. This product and this customer. So if that item's already in the cart, our cart item will return something. If this is null, then we want to add a new one. So if, yeah, I know, just hit escape and change or delete and change it so it's C. So if cart item does not equal null, In this case, product already exists. So update the quantity. So in this case, we'll say the cart item.quantity plus equals quantity. So whatever was in our add to cart form, we're going to add it on to the existing quantity. And then to do an update, and then we're going to mark this item as modified. This is how we do an update. Whoops. This would be. Oops. Bear with me for a second. I'm forgetting my syntax. I'll just go and check it in the other controller where we're doing an update. Oh, okay. It just calls .update. That's. So we update the cart item. Otherwise, we do this code. We insert. Okay, I'll put the method, I'll put it up on Pastebin. We'll have to try it out and see if it works. Go and find this product for this customer. See if it's already in their cart. If we find this product for this customer, we're going to increment the quantity. So plus equals, take the current quantity and add the new quantity to it. Then update and save the changes to the database. If this item is not already in this customer's shopping cart, then our original code will run. Create a new shopping cart record, call add, and save. So here's the whole method. I will put it up on Pastebin so you have easy access to the whole thing. This will generate a new URL, which I will throw in the chat. So let's try this out. I'll reload my cart. So I'll start shopping. I'll put one copy of Dark Souls in my cart. So it adds. I now want to go and purchase the same product again. So I can actually just click on the name of the product. And I'll add 3 more. Add to cart. And now instead of duplicating this item, it just updates the quantity for the same record. So we're not doing another insert, we're just doing an update in this case. So now that's working the way it should. No, it will always do that because it has to recompile. It has to rebuild every time you make a change. So Visual Studio doesn't really have any way of knowing. There's no way it knows when we're actually finished. There is a way to make it faster a little bit, actually, I should say, Justin. So right now, by default, we're in debug mode. So if we look at our project settings, if I go to my project properties, somewhere in here under build, yeah, so it builds a debug version of our DLL. So we can run it with our debugger on if we want. When you're ready to launch it and make it live, you can change the build to a release. That strips out all the comments, for example, and does some other things to try to optimize it for performance. So I guess I shouldn't say the answer is no, but the answer is not automatically. But yes, if you change it to a release version, but that means you can't actively debug it once it's in release mode. But that will improve performance. So that's a good question. So you can experiment with that if you want to. So the other thing we'll do, we're almost time for a break. So this page I think is done. We've done the things we wanted to do. We've updated the add to cart so we don't have duplicates. We've enabled our remove from cart. We've added a JavaScript confirmation. And we're checking that if the cart is empty, we don't bother displaying our table, our HTML table with our checkout links in total. We tell the user, hey, start buying stuff. So the last quick thing we'll do before we have a break is we'll just add a cart link to the layout, to the nav bar, so users can go to their cart at any point. Right now, they have no way to get here other than by adding a new item. So I'll open up my views, shared layout. And in my nav bar, after the shop link, I'll just copy our shop now link. And I'm going to change the action from index to cart. And I'll change that to cart. And then we may be able to use a session variable to display the number of items in the cart if the cart is not empty. So here's your link. I'll just put it in the chat. So I just put it right after my shop now link. There's no authentication. This is a public link for anybody. We'll see how it works. I'll just go back to the home page. Cart. So now I can shop. Right, I can go anywhere in the site, but I could still go back to my cart at any point here, which is good. We can take a look at, it's going to take a little bit of coding. We actually don't have tons more to do today. So let's take a break here. When we come back, we'll look at creating a little badge that when there are items in the cart, we can use a session variable to display that number. maybe in a Bootstrap badge here beside the cart button. And then we'll build our checkout page, which, as Maggie suggested earlier, is going to require authentication that users should log in when they go. We're not going to allow for guest checkout. So let's do that. Actually, I guess we can consider a guest checkout. We can see about that. But let's take a 10-minute break here. I'm going to push all the code I've done so far up to GitHub. So if you're a bit behind, you've got a little bit of time to catch up, and we'll come back here at 12. Okay? I'll upload to Git right now.